Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning for 10 minutes of morning calm. And today we're looking at a fascinating one, which is the idea of noise versus harmony. And we're looking at it with the story of Noah and the ark. And the part of the story we're looking at is where the rain has actually started. For those of you who aren't familiar with this story, it's an ancient story, thousands and thousands of years old. It's at the very beginning of the Bible, and it's a story about a flood, a story about a person who escapes the flood with his family in an ark, which is Noah in the ark. So it's interesting looking at, this idea of the rain, this idea of noise, this idea of just the storms that are all around us. And the idea that God is not here kind of creating those storms. God's not figuring out ways to test us. These storms are just part of the human condition. They're part of the cost of business, as it were, of being alive. It's just part of life. And life was never designed to be perfect. It was designed to be beautiful, and designed to have meaning, but never to be perfect. And so we go through these times, and there's all this cacophony of noise. And what is it that God's trying to do? And if we think of it, don't think of it like, okay, so God's going to give you the test, and then God's going to give you the solution. That would be a little weird. What happens is that the tests happen, the storms rage. That's part of life. And what God does is gently start to bend things to higher and higher purposes. And what is that highest of purpose? Well, here I want to read you a thing that I found particularly beautiful, a piece of little Christian New Church biblical commentary. The Lord uses adversity to regenerate us and bend us into harmony. It's a beautiful line. Let's just pull that apart a little bit. So the word regenerate means to recreate. The idea that it's about creating something new. And the best place to look at what that means in the Bible is where Jesus says, heart of stone, heart of flesh. And that's what's happening, this heart of stone becoming a heart of flesh, because that's really, I don't know, like I think a lot about what is it that we really control? And it's easy to argue that really all we control is the orientation of our heart. Can we orient it to other people or not, or just towards our own selfish impulses? I think that's a pretty core piece of control that all of us do have. And we exercise it imperfectly, granted. So that idea, folks, of that recreating that heart, and the idea of adversity happens, and what is God gently doing? He's bending us into harmony. That's a beautiful, beautiful concept. That's very different than saying God is out there squashing us. I think of the game that comes to mind is whack-a-mole. It's not that God's up there whacking a bunch of moles. It's not that at all. It's this gentle bending into harmony. Think of it this way, folks. Think of an environment you were in where it was just complete cacophony, way too much noise, all these voices. And that may be true outside. And I imagine for many of us, we have experienced that inside as hell, just inside as hell, right? It's inside as hell. We just hear this cacophony, and it's just too much noise, too many voices. How do we change that? Well, I think what God is trying to do is to not cut the volume off totally, but to try to bend all that noise into a harmony, the harmony of the spheres, again, better angels of our nature, the idea of the universe, the idea of the one song. He's trying to bend that all into that so that we can find a new practice, as it were, a new way to being, which is living harmoniously. And I love that idea of harmony, folks, because harmony doesn't mean God's out to squish our individuality. No, God made us as individual pieces of this beautiful chorus. And our job is to find that voice and to deliver, to share that voice that we've been given from all time to share, and that we're to share it to all eternity. That's the harmony piece. And it takes work. It takes a letting go of a lot to allow that to happen. Letting go of that we're in charge, letting go of, sort of Johnny one note, that we should all be Johnny or Jane one note. No, we all should have different notes. We all should have different places. And God is kind of gently shaping this music. And that is part of the 40 days and 40 nights of storm, that's what God's doing. And as my friend Pete constantly reminds me, it's not what we're doing. This is what God's doing. And our job is to have this. Our job, please listen, is to have the softness to allow it to happen, to allow those harmonies to start to move through us. You won't find the harmonies out here in all the cacophony of stuff. You really will find the harmony in here. For many of us, we find it in nature. For many of us, we find it in the ocean, listening to waves. Many of us find it in poetry. I was just reading some beautiful poetry this morning. Wherever you might find that, but just that's the harmony that God is seeking to create, and it's in your heart. You have experienced it, and that's both where we launch from, and that's our destination, is to be there. So to be out of the noise, back into the harmony, and that's what God is trying to recreate within us. So folks, what's the takeaway here? Is just just find that gentleness. Just find that gentleness where you can really listen to that in your life, and then know that even in the midst of storms, that's what God is doing. That's how it is working. That is his loving endeavor, is to move us in that direction. So I hope that makes sense, my friends. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little meditation, followed by a prayer, followed by a blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media. So as you're joining us for the first time, what we do is we ring a little prayer bowl here, just a chance for us to just take a breath, just be still, and then we read a famous Bible passage about being stillness, followed by the Our Father prayer, and then we close with a little blessing, and then we say hi to folks on social media. So with that, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, folks, let's give a little cheery hello to folks here who might be joining us. And again, I hope you're having as beautiful fall weather as we are out here. That's for sure. It has been gorgeous, like Indian summer at its best, which is one of the best seasons out, one of my favorite seasons of the year. That's for sure. All right. So let's give a little cheery hello to everyone. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Sherry writes, saying good morning from Bill's phone. My iPad died during the eclipse. Today's adversity. Yeah, and Sherry, don't you love when you have problems like that? Like, may that be your biggest problem of the day, right? May that be the biggest one. Aaron, great to see you joining us this morning, and so glad to see you saying, yeah, it's a fun message to think about, right? Like, and I love the idea that we all have that stillness within it. Like, there's just part of humanity that just has it and just knows that it's there. Mary writes, I love the harmony piece applied to humanity. What I lack, my fellows contribute. Together we can do this life. Seems like God designed us to fit our pieces together, and that is where we find joy. Mary, I think that is so spot on, right? And like, what if that's the point, right? Like, really allow that in. What if that's the point? The point is this harmony, because when we're in that place, as Mary said, that's where we actually find true joy, because that's who we were created to be. That's where we there's an integrity with the human condition. Anyways, there's just a lot to think about there. A lot to think about. Thank you for that comment, Mary. And Patricia, great to see you joining us as well. So, friends, I know a lot of folks join us archived, whether you join us live or archived. Boy, it's an absolute joy to have you here with us this morning, and wishing you a great day filled with a little harmony. Take care. Bye-bye.